Simplicity, what I done is I went out and I took some of the branches that I trimmed off my apple trees this year and I cut them down, because on all grafting, when you're first starting, you want to start on a bench in a controlled environment here where you can practice. And so I got these just so we can practice, and then when you get out to your trees, you'll know what you're doing, you'll be a little experienced, and it'll go much easier and quicker, and you'll have a lot more confidence. Today I'm going to show you the bark graft. Bark graft is something that I use on much thicker branches or even the tree trunk. And the reason I use a bark graft is because a cleft graft on something this size, I feel damages or stresses the branch or the trunk too much. For example, if I take a cleft graft on a big branch like this and I go down through the center of this branch, I'm going to show you the damage or stress it puts on the branch. You're going to see what it does to the branch there. Look how it splits that down and stresses it on both sides here, cracks it. Now that will heal and you can wrap that up and seal it. Why put that much stress on your tree branches or your trunk when we can use a bark graft on a large branch or a trunk that works just as well and puts much less stress on the tree? To start here, I took one of my branches, and you can see the outer layer of this bark here. You can see it's green, and that's what you want. And you got to have that bark, that inner layer right there, touching the bark of your Scion, and that's where the sap will transfer from one to the other. When doing a bark graft, I like to do two sides with Scions, and then after that grows, you can choose which one grows the best. Start with a bark graft. We're going to take a good knife, and we're going to take it down about 1.5 inches, and we're going to cut just through that bark layer. I've got my cut made, so I push down through this, and I take my knife and I peel this bark away on both sides, just lifting it up just a little. And now you can see where I've got that layer of bark there. Now I can put my Scions right in there. So I take a pre-cut Scion. I've already trimmed this off at 45s going to the center here. I've got my layer of bark here, and it's this inner layer of this bark here on both sides here that needs to contact the inner layer of this bark. We'll take this, we'll slide it under there. Now we've got our Scion on there. And now all we got to do is wrap that with a rubber band or tape and seal it up. As for my rubber bands, I use a number 64 rubber band, and I will cut one of these. Also, this Scion, if it was out in the apple orchard, I would cut this off so that it only had 2 to 3 buds, and I'd seal the end of this bud here. So this thing, I'd go 1, 2, 3, I'd cut it off right there. And I'll also put my tree wound on the end of that and seal that up. Give you a closer look and how it is locked in there. And the bark here on these edges here are going to be touching, because you got plenty of bark here on the outside that's wrapping around that. So that will heal just fine there. Just got to make sure we seal it up well. Now to do the other side, we'll do the same thing. We'll take our knife, we'll go down about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. We'll work through this bark. We then lift up on the bark on both sides. Bark's green, so it's going to lift up nicely for you. We can slide on our second Scion into that. You'll make your cuts. I just cut this one, but you'll pull it towards you, 45, so make one nice cut. On the other side, another nice cut, leaving these 2 layers of bark here, and that's what's going to mate up with the bark that we just opened up on our branch. We then take and we slide our Scion in, and now we can take and wrap that with a rubber band. You can see where the outer edges of the bark are touching the inside layer of that bark. Again, seal all this up. Cut the second one off, so you only got 2 or 3 buds here, and we'll seal the top of that also. And you've done your first grafting. I recommend doing your Scion cuts. See my other post on how to store and how to do grafting, and it shows how to do some scion cuts. It's not hard to do once you've done 4 or 5 on a bench and practice, and after that it's pretty easy to do. So now we're going to take our rubber band, pull that tight, I'll start wrapping that. I'll leave an area to wrap under. Now I got our rubber band on tight. Now what I would do to this is I would seal everything off. We also want to cut this third one off. We only want a couple of buds here. Cut him off right there. The other one we can do the same thing, just a short. And then add your tree wound to the top of those. That would be a bark graft that we use for larger branches or trunks of trees. To show you how to prepare your scions, I'll do a few practice scions here on the table. When I started this, I thought it was very tough. I started out in the orchard. I finally decided to bring a handful of these scions into the bench here. And after I did about 6 or 8 of these, it was very easy to do. It just took getting a technique down and also using the right type of knife. I tried X-Acto knives, I tried utility knives, I tried a fillet knife. Doesn't work. Best thing I found, good old buck knife. Strong, good blade to it. This works great for doing grafting in the apple orchard. First thing to do for safety, let's put a good glove on both hands. We're handling a knife here, we're pulling the blade toward us, so we want to make sure we are safe first. Alright, now we have a scion here. This is a 1-year growth, so it's just got buds on it, nothing else. What we want to do when we're doing a scion is get right above this bud so that we have this room to trim here before we get into the next bud. You don't want to do cut through these buds, it's a little tougher wood there, so you want to cut and leave as much room as you can. We'll cut right there where that bud is. Now we can do our pull with our knife, and if you're doing a bark graft, you do one on both sides. If you're doing a tongue graft, then you only do one nice pull all the way down to this edge here. And again, you can see those in my different posts. So here we'll take our knife, you go up about 1 inch, and we're going to pull right towards our thumb, right towards the center of the branch. One nice cut. Turn it over. Start out about the same distance, down to the center. And there you've got a nice cut for a scion that will work great for a bark graft. Again, leaving this edge here. This is your important edge, this bark here. The bark, edge of this bark here has to touch the inner edge of your bark of what you're grafting to here.